But we had the roof came off.
Shouldn't it just
Like T-tops.
Well,
It didn't roll back.
well, the employees don't use front door. They all come in the back door, the side doors. Silver Creek, they're like, we're glad to have the camera,
Brand new.
but the only problem is when somebody pushes the button, it's looking over here instead of here. You know, because it's just at the wrong angle.
John.
The button needs to be
Daryl
moved,
had
or
to
the
call
camera
him
needs to be, you know, so,
7 o'clock.
you know, stuff like that.
I think I know what's wrong with it. I think these little stanchions, can we come This is broken, that's broken, this is broken. That's why I'm trying to find everything.
That is so dumb.
Right? Rains.
So this is just reimbursement. So we've already done. We're just trying to get paid.
Not in rain.
I've got a bunch of, we'll have to someone.
Was this like a
Take this
sermon?
for this one first,
No,
how
it's
hard
a
I
sales
want
house.
Hey,
So then.
we can replace a bunch
Was he young?
and just keep them in stock. Hey,
So-
I mean,
So then.
Oh my God, he should be fired. If my husband knew someone of his people talked to someone like that.
So, then our little sales.
buy a few cases of
was an online assessment, so it was with computers, okay? And so then, so we had all of that. And then it was also a shortened version. We also had new standards. So all of that was different. And then also, remember we had option 1, option 2, option 3 students. So not everybody was mandated, because typically everybody's in school and everybody takes the test. But we had a waiver where we didn't, not everybody was forced, because we couldn't go track down all of those option 2, option 3 kids. And so it's also going to be reported a little differently because it's usually all students. And so this reporting is based on a participation rate. So those who participated in the assessment is going to be part of that. And so we had all of our option 1 students, all of those who were physically in the building, and a few of the others. So we're going to be looking at those who participated in the testing. So that's important to know. I see you smiling underneath your masks. Thank you. So here we go with that. And so again, this is the Kentucky Summative Assessment. We're going to be calling that it again next year. So because of all of that, we can't compare anything. Because of all of those things, I'm not going to be showing you anything. This is how we did compared to any other year. Because we can't really compare last year, anything about it, to any other year. So this is just a how we did. The students who took the test, this is what we have.
Under new standards.
Under new standards, a shortened test under COVID constraints.
Do you think they'll use this? Is this going to kind of be seen as our starting point going forward?
We have much better data to use. We use iReady, and that's what we're using. We can talk about that at the end. But because we don't have all students, it's kind of hard. But we have some bright points, but it's kind of difficult because of all of those things. So here's our participation rate. And I've compared it, I have these of what the state was, because that's really all we can kind of look at. And so this is elementary, middle, and high, the reading participation rate. So you can see that, what we have there. And then our math, the numbers don't change, the state changes right there. Then our science, because these are the areas in which we were tested, and then the writing. So again, Kentucky Summative Assessment. I'm pretty positive that, again, that's what we're going to call it, Kentucky. But you know, we've gotten to March before, and they've said, oh, surprise, this is what we're going to do. But Kentucky Summative Assessment, not K-Prep. Okay, so here we go. So here's what we have. Here are the novice, apprentice, proficient, distinguished percentages by content area, because that's how we are reported. So what you'll see here is our reading, math, science, and writing. This is the elementary, and the highlighted, those are our district scores, and the others, those are our state, because that's how we can, all we can compare. And again, this is based on the students who participated in the test. But you can see we did well. We did really well compared to the state. So you'll notice that our novice is lower than the state. Our combined proficient distinguished is right at or higher than how the state performed. Questions about that?
Is there any of these numbers that being chief academic officer alarms you about our effectiveness that we were able to, that the teachers were able to achieve during remote learning?
No, because I think our teachers did a bang-up job.
And that's what I wanted you to say.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear, and that's what I hope that these numbers prove. And they do.
Absolutely. This shows me that instruction continued, and then also when we got our first set of our ready scores, I mean, we are rolling. I mean, absolutely. I mean, our teachers just absolutely powered through, and so did our students. I mean, just absolutely. So here we are with middle school, and you can tell, again, our novice is lower than the state, and our proficient and distinguished is right at and higher than the state, because that's kind of what we look at. Then in high school, same thing. Novice is lower, proficient and distinguished combined. We are right there and above where the state is.
In high school, Dr. Hunter, did we assess all grades, or was it just
No, we don't.
sophomores?
Yeah.
Was it sophomores?
Yeah, and then we have one more piece with our ACT,
Okay.
and we can look at that as well. Then our ACT results. And you'll see again, look at that. Look how our 11th graders compared. Even during COVID, even during all we all went through. Still right at and above our state. So what are we doing now? What are we doing now? Because this data,
It's a shot in the dark.
it's great to report. It's great to report. And it's great that, as always, I mean, even when we had our K-Prep, that we had all students in our building, we were still always above the state, okay? But what we're looking at now is we're bringing in our iReady data. And in every single building, we are having conversations with our teachers. Our teachers are setting goals for themselves and for our students. And we are already, our elementary teachers are already seeing gains. Because that's where, because we have students who didn't go to kindergarten and are coming in as first graders, and we're having those conversations with teachers and students, and we're already moving right along. So proud of the work that's happening.
It's no secret that I'm not a huge fan of this test. I think our teachers need to be commended for what they were able to achieve during this. To have new standards, to try to administer a test during the height of the pandemic while they're trying to teach, and it's, to me, I mean, all the kudos in the world. We heard that these, the kids aren't learning. They were learning, and they were learning because of our teachers and because of the families and because of the students. To me, the iReady data is the most important data that we gather. because it's consistent and we react to it immediately. It's not a once-a-year thing, and so.
Absolutely. Our teachers are already looking forward to our winter assessment so that they can see that growth.
We are too.
Yeah, that's
We are too.
Yep.
Well, I think, you know, the theme, you know, when I would talk to teachers and stuff, you know, we're just surviving. Well, we did more than survive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
We
I think
absolutely
that-
did more than survive.
And I think it is, I agree with Beth wholeheartedly. They have really stepped up, and this just shows, while we may not, you know, totally rely on the data, what we can discern from it is we just kept on going.
Absolutely. It's still nice to see.
And I think that's great.
Right. You have to take it for what it's worth.
That's right. I think it's fabulous.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. That's relatively good news, I think. It's really good.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Thomas, next up for our construction report.
Well, good evening, everyone.
How are you doing?
Good. Of course, we've had some rain and good weather lately. Oh, am I in the way? So there's been some ups and downs, but in general, most of the construction projects are moving along pretty rapidly. I'll tell you, I'll take this moment to, you have an agenda item a little bit down for 2 change orders, change order number 1 to Schiller and change order number 1 to New Tech. We did this I think it's just last month, at another one of the projects where it's just a net zero. We're taking $44,256.50 and taking it away from one contract and moving it to another contract to make sure we get the manufacturer of pieces of equipment that Madison County wants. So when you approve one of those individually, just know the other one's offsetting it back to zero, and that's Clark Moore's where that will be a net zero. The Area Technology Center, well, actually, I was going to start with the CTC, moving along well. The tower's built, you know, the steel tower. They're looking at putting the spray insulation. You know how the ATC has the yellow insulation on it? Well, they're going to get the spray insulation on the CTC building as well. There's a brick panel down there, and they did a good job at matching the brick. So I have some pictures of the brick panel. No, I understand. That's fine. I often get accused of talking too much, so I'll just, you know, I can keep talking. But the brick matched pretty good on the Ferristown build, and that's what we're doing, trying to keep some, you know, the campus colors, as we talked about before. Generally, the buff and the brown. Even the bus garage, you know, has a brown roof back there. So they've got the brick build. They've got the retention basin in. The storm sewer in, so they've moved well along at the CTC, and it looks like it's there. Look at that, jumped right into it, and there's the tower has some unfortunate placement of porta-johnies there, but it blinks. Okay, I live with blinking. I blink all the time too. So good sunny day there. Here's a closer look at the tower. If you know, all the steel at Berea is gray, and all the steel at the the Richmond Academy is red. So if you just notice in colors, it's all going to get painted later anyway. So it's just the rust proofing they use. Here's a back picture of the gym. This is where they're going to start with some of the foam insulation. Of course, this is the storm shelter as well. You can see the entry tower over to the right. Moving around, they've got the storage building foundation in. You can see the building on the right. There's where the 3 doors to the diesel lab will be. There's a little closer shot of that. The foundation right at the foot of the wall there is where they'll keep all the gases for the welding booths. Here's a picture from the inside looking back out at the diesel mechanic lab. And here's the corridor. Just looking down through the corridor, you can see, and there's some more gray front. You can see the windows on the left, and they've got the mechanical mezzanine up above. So there's kind of a roof on the long corridor now. And here's just another one of those pictures that I keep taking, where you're in the corridor and you can see through offices, through labs, into classrooms, all the way to the outside. And I'm standing in the welding lab at the front wall, looking back at the classroom. You can see again how much vision there is between the labs and the classrooms. And that piece of steel you see along the top of that classroom, of course, each one of those labs have a mezzanine, so there'll be stairs up to those mezzanines for storage. And here's me up on one of those scaffolds, taking some pictures along the steel. Yeah, I walked slowly up. And you can see the mezzanines from the top there, so there's going to be several areas for storage for them. And there's just a picture of the steel, but you can see Ferristown in the background there. There's the brick panel I was talking about. Now, if you look at this panel, the mortar's a little, they hadn't washed it yet. So the mortar's going to be a little bit more gray than that. And so I took two of the brick over to, that's the Ferristown sign, the Ferristown Middle School sign. And you can see that top brick is almost a dead match. The bottom brick, there's more of a field or a range in the brick below, so that one color matches the lower brick there. So we're in the same family there of colors. And I believe, and I'm sorry, I did just re-include a couple of the renderings when we talk about the brick there, so you can see that back in the renderings, the color of the brick that we were hoping to get there, and pretty good match. So, any questions about the CTC?
Do we think we're still on time?
Yeah, the CTC's in pretty good shape. It's smaller, and it was already scheduled to be the end of March and April. I don't know that Madison County really ever had plans to try to squeeze in there before the summer, because that would only be a month or two. But they look pretty good there. So that's the CTC, of course. Any other questions on the?
I have a question for both academies, but down the hallways, we was in there yesterday, and the corridors are super tall. How far down is the drops? We put a drop ceiling in there?
Yeah, there's a drop.
How far down is it going to come?
It will be up 14 feet, so it's probably about, I think it's about 3.5, 4 feet below that, what you see is that mezzanine. And that way, there'll be large ducts and cables and networking, and so there'll be a lot of stuff in that interstitial space. But some of the discussion early with the administration was wide and, taller ceilings and wide corridors. And this also allows at each, these little areas where I'm showing recesses of doors to go into the labs and the classrooms, there'll be vertical panels that come down along there that say, engineering or CAD or nursing or something like that as well. So, and there's some soffits and things like that along the wall. So it'll scale that down. They look pretty tall right now. And that concrete that you're looking at there helps, you don't have the joist in there in the middle, so that also helps. The joists kind of take up more space with all the ductwork and things like that. So we'll have more room for the ductwork and the wires and data wires and things like that. So. Richmond, and I'm sorry, the Ignite Academy, North Campus. The other one was Ignite Academy, South Campus. They just this morning got some fascia trim on the tower there, so you can see lines are getting a little sharper, and things are kind of focusing in a little bit. So the two different colors of gray there. They've got the piers built around the lobby, so kind of exciting to see it from the bypass and the drive. And that's the view that the receptionist gets. So I might just apply for that job. That's going to be a nice situation there, because if you remember in the plan, she has all glass. Whoever has that position has glass all the way around them, so they can see in every direction, and that's the way they'll be facing. So, just a beautiful view from the inside of the lobby area there. And if you spin around now, you can see some of the forms developing. That's the marketing lab, and that's where there'll be the glass wall that they'll be able to do displays in for the entire school. There we go. And then if you turn and look down the corridor, similar to the Berea project, Mr. Rutherford, you see the high ceiling. Of course, this is a little lower right up front here, but they still get pretty high ceilings through there. It's a classroom on the left and marketing on the right. The mezzanine's in there, and they've built the walls up. And this picture was from a few days ago, because they actually have some steel joists on top of that upper corridor now. But that's the equipment mezzanine. There's a shot from the equipment mezzanine. Again, you're able to look down and see that the storage, that's the welding lab. You can see some upper storage there. And that's looking back out at the tower from a roof access. You'll have roof access up there. And some of these pictures are a few days ago, and some of them are this morning. So that area that we're looking at there has roof decking all on it now. So that's what they're really pushing for now, is getting the roof deck on and getting it on fast. So once they dry it in, things inside are going to happen very quickly. But this is a good example of the large windows. So this is the administration area with none of the walls filled in yet. Of course, you can see the concrete entry to the storm shelter gym there in the background. They've also got the roof on the storage building there. So again, you can see those kind of crisp lines showing up and everything kind of focusing in. Brick is going on. So this is the back of the building, and they've got the brick going around. So, and this is coming around the 4 Mile Road into the building. So good progress there. There's a shot from inside the Auto Tech lab looking out at the storage building. And there's just another shot. I'm all the way across the corridor looking through there, and you can see through labs and corridors and offices and all the way out to the other side. Here I'm standing all the way in I think I'm in the welding lab looking all the way through the building out a window on the other side. So plenty of vision throughout the building there. And there's just a shot where I back. It's hard to get shots too far back because I've got so much material stored in the way.
The brick is very pretty there.
Yeah, oh, good. I'm
We
glad
saw
you
it
got
yesterday.
fantastic, fantastic. Of course, it still gets white. You get a lot of white on there right now, and it'll get washed down. Any questions about the Ignite Academy North? It's moving along well, and I think I talked to you last time about they had reported a schedule to us that put it up in late April, and we backed them back down to March, to mid-March, which is still later because they had some legitimate rain. We had an awful, winter, and had some legitimate rain days, but not late April. Clark Morris. Here you can see this is the kitchen addition, and that's the door that still would come out of the kitchen area there. That's where there will be a new office, new washroom, and cooler freezer addition. And as you walk around I think I may have, no, okay. This is where they're digging down and putting new brick. We'll put a new footing in for the new brick. Most of or all of the metal panel that's there is going to get the new brick on it. So that's exciting to see that come up. And it's hard to see, but they've got a little concrete stem wall on the foundation there where they're going to put it on. Walk around the building some more. That's looking at Area D. That's the athletic building. Just a couple of more things, and there'll be a couple of more things to do, and they'll go vertical with block there. Walk up the hill and look back down at it. You can see it's ready to go vertical. This is Area D where the band room is, and a couple of new classrooms. That's the very back end of the building, kind of facing the baseball, softball field back there. You can see the footings going in, so they've really been productive on putting most of the footings in for that area. They're ready to go vertical with the concrete stem walls there. Walk inside Area D, you can see they've got ductwork in place, painted walls. A lot of things are done in that area. Sorry. There we go. There's another room. This is the tech center that's been divided into 3 classrooms. They are just waiting, and it's probably no surprise, on the HVAC units themselves, which are probably on one of those cargo ships stuck somewhere. But we've talked to them about speeding this area up and get it to us as fast as they can. I mean, they could put 50 men on the site, but there's no equipment for them to put in place. They're waiting on they've got some of the ductwork in, but the piece of equipment that's the unit itself that attaches to that is just not there. So they're patiently waiting on that. Then they can put the ceilings in. New sinks, there's new plumbing fixtures. I didn't take pictures of the toilets, but there's all new fixtures in all the bathrooms, and you can see nice shiny sinks there. Oh, and new paving out front. Reportedly, the system is working pretty good, keeping cars off the road. There's some more lines to be painted, and that actually gets another top coat on it and some more painting. So and it'll even look better than that before it's all said and done. But so far, that's working good. Next month, we'll probably show you a change order where Madison County decided, hey, we want to get double wide lanes here. So you can see here where they've added some pavement to that area. Well, sorry, I thought I had more pictures of that, but there's several areas where there was pavement added since the initial install, and spoke with Dr. Gillum and Mr. Cash, and everybody decided, hey, while they're here and while they're doing it, let's go ahead and get some more asphalt installed. So we'll bring that before the board in the next month or two. And they were very nice to go ahead and do the work and get it done, and it's worked great. So colors, we haven't really done anything different than what's already been shown to you in the renderings. You know, of course, there'll be blues and reds and interior brick that matches the exterior brick and things of that nature because of the school colors and so forth. But did just want to report to you that we've now officially given the contractor some colors. So if there's something in any of these images that you don't like, go ahead and point it out, because I'll need to back them up. But this is really what we've seen so far. The blue, and I should say, this is the lobby. When you walk in the front door, that's what you see. The gym will be on the right, cafeteria further down, the media center on the left, and kind of behind you from that image is the office area. And this is if you walked all the way through the lobby, towards the cafeteria door, and you're looking back, back towards the front entry there. Display cases and brick on that one wall and vibrant colors. Now, if you step into the media center, this is what you'll see. I know David Rohr's going to love those light fixtures.
Are those just drop ceiling?
They are.
faux wood
They're just
tiles?
it's amazing what they can do
Yeah.
now. But it's like a wood grain image on a drop ceiling tile. Now they're a little bit heavier than just your normal drop ceiling tile, but they still have an acoustical value. So they'll still help the acoustics in the room, but have more of kind of a
Looks nice.
classy look. Yeah. And there was some of that out in the
warms
lobby
it up.
as well. And here's just another shot in there with the LED light fixtures and the stacks, and the library furnishings are included in the construction contract as well. Now, there's no furnishings in here, but this is the cafeteria. If you're standing at the serving area looking back out, good wax job there. And this is the band room. Once it gets built, that's a equipment storage on the left with some higher windows, acoustical ceilings, storage and offices on the right there. So those are the colors that you'll see throughout the school, assuming everyone's okay with those images. And that was just, I think I finished on another exterior shot of the outside of the building. So, any questions on Clark Moore's?
I think it looks fantastic.
Oh, great. Glad you think so.
How are they doing on time?
Well, they are meeting the contract requirements right now. Of course, when this was all designed in phase, COVID was going down, and Mr. Sexton was very flexible, and their teachers in how they were going to set up their rooms and move people out without having to pull in extra trailers and things of that nature. But of course, once we got into it and school started back and they're in construction, now everybody wishes we could move faster. And really, and Mr. Cash has made that perfectly clear to them, and they understand they're supposed, that they are supposed to move as fast as possible, which they're doing. And they pulled more people on the site, especially to do some of the exterior work. It's just those few pieces of equipment that they're waiting on in Area D. If they can just, we had a construction meeting this morning and talked to them again, and they said, as the day, they keep calling, and the day it comes in, they're going to put them in. And if they can get done ahead of schedule, which would be the December break for that back Area D, they'll do it and turn it over and let us have those classrooms back. So they're on schedule for the contract schedule at this point, and doing the best they can to increase that rate.
I know that we're doing the best, you're doing the best. I'm wondering about parent complaints or student complaints or teacher, because I know we've moved and we're trying to make sure that the noise is as minimum as possible construction noise. So I'm just making sure, I don't know who can answer that, as far as we're not upsetting their daily routines.
That's another thing that Mr. Cash is very clear about. So, and in fact,
We've talked about it a lot.
Right.
Not to
And
disturb the students.
and he brings that, of course, we bring it up, he brings it up often. And of course, we told Mr. Sexton, you know, he has my email and phone number, and of course, he knows Chuck and his email. Fortunately, the people we're working with on the site, Rising Sun and their people on the site, are good to work with. You know, they get it, they understand, they've been very good. And, you know, I haven't had the first complaint that I'm aware of. You know, now, I know at some point, you know, the beeper, the machines that are rolling backwards and beeping in the cafeteria, you could probably hear it out in the lobby, but down in the classroom areas, I don't think it's bothering anybody. The stuff that's going on outside is pretty, since there's nobody in Area
Right.
D,
Right.
you know, it's,
They're on the other side.
yeah, and I hope you all, Area D I'm referring to as the very back, always the very back wing there. Yeah, they're on the back side of the building, and most of the people who are in classrooms are on the front side of the building. So far, it's worked out really well.
That's good. It's good to know.
What about the access road that Richmond is wanting us to put in and put a fire hydrant in? Where are we at on that?
Well, we got a price from the contractor, because we redid it, and we actually added some pavement. When we went back and looked at it again, we actually added some pavement, got rid of what is now a temporary trailer there, added some pavement. They gave us a price. We said we didn't like it. So we're kind of negotiating with them right now and saying, hey, what's going on here? Let's bring this back down. Of course, and that work won't get done until next summer anyway, so that's where we are on that. I want to bring you a better number than what they've shown us so far. And there could just be some miscommunication or some clarification. It's a little complicated area back there, and we're moving electric and transformers, and KU has to be involved. There's some demolition. You know, what's in the bid already, what's not. So we just need to sit down and have a meeting and everybody discuss, make sure we're clear what the owner, you know, what is the owner's value in what
No,
we're getting.
Tony,
Yes.
in regard to that question about the driveway back there and the fire hydrant and so forth, we got approval, we submitted our plans to the city regarding that change, and we got approval on everything. We're just,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes.
It-
Yeah, we
It's
did.
good, the design is good, we're just waiting on the.
Yes, the
on pricing.
design is good. The only thing, KU, well, and I shouldn't even bring it up, but KU says that, and I'm going to have to talk to David Rohr about it, when they, you know, all the utility companies have to sign off on everything. KU said, you all have some light poles back there that I guess whoever did the survey assumed they were yours. Well, KU saw that and said, no, those are ours. Okay. But we have to change the plans for KU to finally sign off on it. But Tyler Stone and the people at Richmond have given us official approval on that design. So we're good there. And they're not, you know, and they're letting them work back there and so forth. All good questions. Yeah, Clark Moore says it's a tight little complicated area, and renovations always are.
I drove by today. It looks good.
Oh, good.
Coming along.
Anybody else have anything for Mr. Thomas?
Thank you.
so very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. All right, so next up, we have Mr. Woods with our financial stuff.
I'm sorry.
Good evening.
Hello, hello.
All right. Start with our bank rec. As of September 30th, the district ended with a reconciled balance of $81,528,107.49. We've been talking about this for a while. You see it's up this time last year. It's the bond sales that we've had, and it's all the construction we got going on. That's where all the The mass funds are, we do have some money sitting in food service, and we have a plan with the state to spend that down and revamp. We've been in the process of doing that. You've seen the pictures where we started with cafeteria tables at several schools and everything. So we do have a plan in place. We have to get the excess cash down to a level that they're comfortable with on the state level. There's a formula for that. And we've been working with Mr. Anderson on that to get a plan in place and revamp, buy some equipment, some other things that the cafeteria needs. Also on that, you will notice the one negative number on there. And what that is where we pay our bond payments. It always happens. Basically, general fund covers this area until we get our first big round of local tax funds in. We have bond payments that come due now with all of our different schedules. They start in August, September, October. We don't get our some of our funds for that until about November. So that's one of the items that I always make sure we have cash flow to cover. It'll show like that until we get our first round of money in. Other reconciled balance, the district has $5,740,990.65 in investments. Those rates range from 0.15, I'll slow down and say that, 0.15% to 0.65%, so less than 1%. These rates have remained extremely low for the past year. I've not been trying to increase any funds in any of these when we do have extra funds, because we can keep it liquid and make about the same amount of money on our investments. So there's some other investment models out there I'm not comfortable with after some legislature deals that were passed, but they involve getting into the open market, and I don't believe we should be doing that, because you need to be tying your funds up for 5 years at a minimum in order to stay safe in that market, and that's not something we need to be in, or that I feel we need to be in. What's that?
Especially at this time.
Yes, it could be too volatile, and it could cost us money in the long run. So we prefer to keep it like this and keep our funds rather liquid in our checking account. We are earning a little bit of money here and there. So in your packet, you also had a balance sheet and a revenue and expense report for the month of September. I've looked through those. We seem to be, of course, everything's just really kicking off with teacher pays starting in September and everything. So we're on track. Everything seems to be going well. I look at those every month, make sure we stay on track with our budget. Any questions?
Any other questions? Okay. So I guess we need a motion to approve the financial reports as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll let you do this next one too, the school security funds request. If you kind of
All
mentioned
right.
it just a little bit there.
So in the 2020 budget bill, the legislature approved funds that are run through the capital construction branch and KDE, and they're to improve school safety. They gave us 6 categories that we can spend it on. They're very, very narrow categories. They did allow us to go all the way back to March 11th of 2019 and look at anything that we had done since then to include. So what I've done is I've went back, I've looked at things that potentially qualify. We have to bring these to the board. We have to get your approval to be able to submit this funds request to the state. So these are, as you can see, there's window coverings, door coverings for safety purposes. These are things we've paid for in prior years. I've captured as much as I can of that, and our plans, if you approve this, is to allow us to submit this to the state, see if we can get reimbursed on things that we've already spent money on. We were allocated $324,000 for this, so At the point we got told we had these funds, it was about a month before all the COVID shutdowns hit. So it's not been on as high of a priority as you can imagine, trying to keep schools running and other things. So now we're going back looking at this. We only have till June 30th of this year to request the funds. So I've got several projects in place. Some of our new construction, as soon as we get those done and everything, I can turn that in as well. We've got things pulled out of those identified that do qualify.
Well, I appreciate you going through, I mean, this is basically an allocation that we can just seek reimbursement for on things that we can do anyway. So I appreciate you going through and digging and finding all you can find to take advantage of our allocation. So I think that's wonderful. And these are things we've already paid for anyway.
Yes.
So, anybody have any questions for Mr. Woods?
That's a far-fetched question. So, was there any availability to request for internet security coverage? Just
No.
trying.
I know.
Just trying.
I know.
I mean, we pay a lot for insurance. I mean,
Sure.
I just didn't know if there was something.
No, in fact, here's what they told us. They said you can spend it on main entrance front door electronic locks. You can spend it on a main entrance camera, a main entrance intercom, classroom door locks, window coverings, and exterior door access control. Those are the 6 categories. Most of it focuses on front entrance only. I guess that's where everybody comes out. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the intent of that legislation. And, we don't think about that in Madison County because we've had front vestibules and
Right.
locks and cameras
Security.
on our schools for years. But when they started doing safe schools legislation and they found that across the state, that was not commonplace. And so they provided some funding to assist with that, and every district got allocated a certain amount, and you could request reimbursement. So that's, that was the intent of that legislation.
What's the rear access? You said rear access, correct?
Exterior door access controls.
Right,
and
what's access control?
So it would
Not
be
the
your
fobs
electronic
or-
scan cards to get in.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're very limiting. Some districts I've talked to have tried to do doors other than the front door. Some get approved, some don't. And there's several stipulations. A lot of this, especially if it's something that you're not asking for reimbursement that you've already done. So something that, say, we're starting right now, they want it to go through a BG process. So,
Yeah.
which makes it that much harder to get it done and request the funds. But
For the Clark Moore renovation, will that go into this?
if we've done any of the front access controls, if we
Right.
end up doing, and I can't remember if there were any of those items, we'll try and pull that out, but here's the key. It's got to be anything that we pay for before June 30th.
Right, well, that should be done before June 30th.
So
So you said it was like 314,000,
324,000.
24, so are we going to be able to take advantage of all of it, or?
That's my plan. I've got another one I'm going to bring to you right away. I've already went through looking for where we've done the exterior locks on several schools. Over the years before this bill was passed, Madison County's always been very progressive to make sure that the schools have the vestibules, they have the other security features that should be in place. So what I'm trying to do, I've identified as many of those as I can. I'll be bringing another one of these to you very soon. I wanted to get this in, see how much of a kick it's going to take to get it.
See how hard it is to get reimbursed.
See, yes, because along with this, we've had to go back through records and pull every check, every invoice. I have to send all of that in with this as well. It's a little tedious and time consuming.
So what schools do we have left that don't have them then? Or? 'Cause
Have what?
All of our doors have the front access and.
Yeah, well, really for us, we don't. But we can only request reimbursement for anything that was done since March 11th of 2019. So that's kind of where the hangup is in
But
some
not
of
all
that.
of our schools have the window screens. I mean,
Most of
so-
them. Yeah, pretty
Most
much
do?
every one of them, yeah.
Some do, but not all, right?
We're going to see what we can get and go for it, and we'll know a little bit more after we get this through. There's a lot of conflicting information, and sometimes it depends on how they view what you've sent in.
Right.
Well, you can let us know how that goes.
I will. That's why I wanted to start with this, and I've got the other one pretty much ready to bring to the board. I want to see how this goes, and then I'm ready to go for another one.
Sounds good.
I love that even on our security systems, you know, where you press the button for it still says press here, like they've taped it. Because people never know where to press. So.
Okay. All right, do we have any other questions? All right, so we need a motion to approve the school security funds request as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second?
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, and then next on our agenda is to create the sub-mechanic pay rate. You wanna-
We have never had a sub-mechanic pay rate, and Mr. Lakes has actually been able to identify a person that would be good for this. It would help in times, especially now, where you might have somebody quarantined, a mechanic, say if they got quarantined for 2 weeks, we still have to fix our vehicles, we still have to do regular maintenance on them and everything. This would allow us, by creating this, it would allow us to bring in a sub during those times that could help us with that.
So we're basically just adding this to our salary schedule?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or anything? No? Okay. So we need a motion to create a sub-mechanic pay rate to be added to the salary schedule.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Next on the agenda is to, Tony mentioned this just a few minutes ago in his report. We have a change order at Clark Moore's, a change order number 1 for the new tech. So we need to change the brand of our access controls at the Clark Moore project. This will allow us to have all the same types of systems at all of our schools. It's a zero effect. We're going to take it away from new tech, and we're going to give it to Schiller. So this will be basically two different motions. So our first one will be to approve a credit change order to New Tech for minus $44,256.50 to revise the manufacturer of the access controls.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll do a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then right behind that, we're going to do a change order to Schiller for the $44,256.50 to change the access controls to them. So do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, then next we need to approve an emergency certification at Madison Central. This is actually a teacher that has a teaching certificate, but just not specific to special ed. So we need, do we have any questions? Mr. Dr. So we need a motion to approve the emergency certification for a teacher at Madison Central High School.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, and a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Moving right along, next on our agenda is to revise a job description in our certified teacher and special education teacher positions. We are adding the words positive feedback on reference checks as a qualification for these positions. Does anybody have any questions on that? This just kind of give us some more flexibility there. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Gillum on that? You need to say anything on that?
I don't, I mean, you covered it,
Okay.
just something some wording we needed to have in there, yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the revised job description as presented?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle, and we have a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
And next up, we have Dr. Broombaugh. He's going to talk to us about our district facility plan.
Good evening.
Hello, hello.
Hello. A couple board meetings ago, you guys approved for the local planning committee to come back together and reconvene. So we reconvened the local planning committee, and we met on September the 14th and October the 4th. As you know, the local planning committee is made up of representatives around the district of equal parts teachers, administrators, and parents, and some community members as well as Mrs. Coyle as the board representative on that. Essentially, you have the document there. Local planning committee came together to revise the district facility plan. That district facility plan basically made two of our buildings transitional buildings, Bellevue Learning Center and Waco Elementary School. Making it transitional meetings basically makes it, it's kind of phasing out an educational center, and it's not eligible for construction or major renovations any longer. In doing so, with Waco, making it transitional building, you struck through all of the items on there that talked about renovations and things like that. So, so at our last meeting, October the 4th, the local planning committee unanimously approved that. So the next step would kind of be twofold. One, get your all's blessing, and then two, we're asking that you approve that I be the hearing officer so that I can hold a public hearing and get some feedback from the public. With all that being said, the next step then I would bring it back to the next board meeting and report on what the public has said about it. So I've done a lot at you there, but essentially needing your approval, if you would, on the district facility plan, as well as approving me to be the hearing officer for that.
So Madison Middle was already in transitional?
We did that
Okay.
early in 2021, February-ish, I think.
Okay, so it was already.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any questions for Dr. Broombaugh? No? Okay. All right, I think we're on the same page. So we need a motion to approve the district facility plan and name Dr. Dustin Broombaugh as the hearing officer.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'll see you next month.
All right,
Thank you.
see you then. Good luck. Okay, so moving right along, next we have approved revisions of our purchasing manual. Dr. Gillum, I think you wanted to address this one.
Certainly will, yes. The purchasing manual is basically our compilation of all of the Red Book rules and all of the model procurement outlines that we have to make sure we're in compliance with state purchasing guidelines. We have this purchasing manual, has to be reviewed every 2 years, and this is just the 2-year review. The only changes to this compared to what we previously had, just a date change there on the front. And then there are a couple of examples where the numbers just simply didn't add up since the state a couple of years ago increased the amount that did not require board approval to $30,000. So we had to adjust a couple of examples there. And then the hyperlink at the end of the document. Everything else remains the same.
Do we have any questions? Okay, so we need a motion to approve the revisions to the purchasing manual as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Moving right along, next we have we need to approve the Head Start Memorandum of Understanding with the Community Action Council. This is basically a federal program, and we're required to have an agreement in place. So, do we have any questions regarding that? No? So we need a motion to approve the 2021-2022 Local Head Start Memorandum of Agreement and Service Contract for the cooperation and full utilization of Head Start.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on our agenda is to approve the purchase of cafeteria furniture. Back in April, you guys may remember, we approved the purchase of cafeteria furniture at Central, Foley, Kit Carson, Glen Marshall, Kingston, Kirksville, Waco, Silver Creek, Daniel Boone, and Whitehall. We didn't do Boonesboro because it was a new school. If you guys have followed Mr. Anderson on Facebook, you can see how awesome this furniture looks. It really looks nice. He's done a fabulous job. So we need to purchase cafeteria furniture for our remaining schools. So do we have any questions for Mr. Anderson or regarding that?
I'd like to know the feedback from students. Hopefully, since
Our students are thrilled. Almost every night when students get home, I get parents messaging me saying how much their kids like it, how much they're talking about it, thrilled that they get to sit in the booths and the tables. So I'm anxious to get the next 7 going, and I think the kids are really enjoying it. It's really changing the atmosphere of the cafeteria, more of a environment that's friendly for the kids, and it's a lot of fun.
Are all of those schools completed now? The
They're
original
not, but
ones?
by the end of this month, they will be. So we've got Whitehall coming in tomorrow morning, and then we have Silver Creek and Glen Marshall coming in Monday and Tuesday, and then we have the rest of Central coming in Thursday or Friday.
So I noticed too that the high schools you're moving in, like the individual elementary schools, is that what I see?
Well, at Central, we took a logo from every school that was a feeder school because they have that one tribe type thing. And so when I talked to Mr. Fritz, we talked about doing a logo from every feeder school. So we're putting that into Central. We may come back and add a few more of Central's logos in there because I think we need a few more, but we don't have all their tables yet. Southern didn't really like that idea, so they're going with something else, mostly just their logos and stuff, but it's going to look just as nice. But Central wanted that one tribe. They thought that would be a good
I just
addition.
wondered how that went over because, you're in high school now. Do they feel like they're just going back?
We've got a lot of feedback from the high school kids, and they really love it.
That's good.
I'm in there quite a bit talking to the kids, and they're sitting at the Clarkmore table and Madison Middle table and those type things. And even the anti-bully benches that we put in, very little negative feedback on that. We've had a couple at each school because of the purple and yellow, but when you explain to them that, that's the official color and really can't make it a different color and have it be anti-bully, they love it, and the principals have, to me anyways, have really bragged about how they like those benches.
That's good. Awesome.
I know the booths are like that, they lift up for cleaning.
Yeah,
Are they
so.
working the way we expected them?
Yeah, so when we put in Boonesboro, schools really didn't do that back then. We made a lot of magazines and went national and different things. Companies since then have developed the booths so they fold up a little better. So this company has a great design, and I've not had any complaints from custodians. They fold up, they roll right out. And I told them we'll come back in a couple of weeks and see what we need to change at some of the schools, just in case they went with a design that they need to modify a little bit, but we'll be more than happy to make sure they're thrilled.
They look great. Everything I've seen, they look
They do.
awesome.
They look fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Anderson? No? All right. So I need a motion to approve the cafeteria furniture for Cottle Middle, Clarkmore Middle School, Ferristown Middle School, Madison Kindergarten Academy, Madison Middle, Shannon Johnson, and Madison Southern.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. And then we have next to approve our calendar committee. We've all seen that. Do we need to say anything about that?
No, other than it's all part of the regulation that's given to us by the state. We have to but it's in state law. We have to assemble a committee that has parents, teachers.
And we have the
district staff.
goal of trying to bring our 22-20, gosh, is that even right? The 22-23 calendar, hopefully in December. Wow, that sounds really bad. Okay, so do we have any questions on that at all?
This is the same committee that's been on it, if I remember correctly, right?
A lot of the same
Some of
people.
them are. It's made up of teachers, parents, and community members.
Correct.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve the 2021-2022 calendar committee?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Berger.
We
I'm
were
scared
all
we're there for a
waiting.
minute.
I was waiting.
Controversial?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And then, next on our agenda is to just approve the final reading of policy 9.14. We actually discussed this at our last meeting. This is the policy regarding cleaning up basically our student directory information. So, and it requires a second reading for the approval. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? All right. So could we have a motion to approve the final reading of revised Madison County Schools Policy 9.14?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right. And then Dr. Gillum, it's your superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening. Let me start by saying, again, I've said it several times, but thank you to all of our employees for their continued work this school year. Today, we finished our 40th consecutive day of school without any interruptions. To any of our services, very proud of that and appreciate everyone's work for being a big part of that. Our numbers continue to improve across our state, across our county, and we're keeping a close eye on those and continually assessing our mitigation strategies to make sure they're appropriate. And for now, it's going very well. Our positive cases are decreasing. Quarantines within our schools are decreasing. Our Test to Stay program is keeping students in class, so it's going very well. And we certainly want to thank again our nurses for everything that they have done. Our school health coordinator, Ms. Barnes, is here tonight and just doing a great job with all of our nurses. We thank them so much for everything that they're doing. We're also able to provide the flu vaccine to a few weeks ago to all of our staff across all of our schools in our schools, and that our nurses had a part in that. So they were able to do that on site, so our folks didn't have to leave the buildings to be able to do that. So be able to stay there in the buildings with the kids. So we thank them for that as well. I also want to let the board know that the additional pay incentives that were approved last month for substitutes is making an impact. We're seeing increased number of folks willing to substitute and coming in on those Mondays and Fridays and trying to stay consistent with it. So we're having fewer unfilled positions each day. So it's a big service to our kids. So thank you for that. Yesterday, our district hosted our state education commissioner, Jason Glass, to our district for a visit. We thank Ms. Whitaker out at Glen Marshall, and Mr. Hazelwood at B. Michael Caudill for hosting them at the school site. We also got to visit the construction out at the new Ignite Academy North Campus to see all the great work that's going on there. So we appreciate our construction company out there that's working with them. They had the facility ready for a tour, so we appreciate that. The commissioner was able to visit with some of the members also of our intervention team and find out about the academic initiatives going on in our district. So we certainly appreciate Dr. Glass for coming down and paying us a visit. Dr. Brumbaugh presented just a few minutes ago on our amended district facility plan, and as he mentioned, that plan is a result of the work done by our local planning committee, which is made up, again, of teachers, principals, and community members. I want to thank all of those folks, especially our community members, and I'll also point out Phyllis Adams. She served as the chair of that committee for several years, so we really appreciate all of her work with that. And as for my schedule, last month it has been busy. I had the privilege of serving on the KDE Facilities Task Force, so I had a few meetings to review facility regulations for the state. I also participated in the Commissioner Superintendent Advisory Committee, and the KASA Government Affairs team to review pending and potential legislation impacting public education across the Commonwealth. I attended School Research Nexus last week, and then the Kentucky Association of School Superintendents Summit in Frankfort on September 30th, and I'll begin my first round of principal evaluation site visits in the first week of November. So it has been busy, but things are, again, going very well. Last, I want to introduce Mr. Scott Uzzle, who is our new principal at Kit Carson Elementary. Mr. Uzzle, would you mind just to step forward so folks can see you? We'll give him a little round of applause. Come on up to the podium there. I'm going to bring you up to the podium. You don't have to say anything, but these folks might have a question for you. So I want to make sure I point out Mr. Uzzle. He had an extensive career in education, international education, and served on the foreign mission field before coming to Madison County. He's been in our district for 6 years, started as a special ed teacher down at Farristown, became assistant principal, I think 3 years ago at Farristown. And he is married to Teresa, who teaches at Madison Central. And then he has 6 children. Kendra, who is married, she lives in Chicago. Caleb, he's married and works for Christian Appalachian Project, lives here in Richmond. Sarah lives in Lawrenceburg and works for the state of Kentucky. Jacob graduated college. He's working for us as a paraeducator in the district while he's waiting to get a job in programming. And then Isaac is a freshman at Morehead State, and Gabriella is a freshman at Madison Central. So he's particularly a family man, but now I left out the important part, and that's that
right.
He has 3 grandkids, okay? Apollo, Penelope, and Arthur. So congratulations to Mr. Uzzle, our new principal at Kit Carson.
Thank you. Any question? I just didn't know if you had any questions for me.
Well, you've got 1 week under your belt, so we hope things are.
Yeah,
things
well,
are
so
going
far,
well.
yeah, I've been doing half days at both, so,
Okay.
but yeah,
Well,
going
if we
great.
can help you or you need anything, you let us know.
I appreciate it. Thank you
We're
very much.
happy to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Uzzle, and that concludes my superintendent report.
All right. All good news. Okay, do we have any comments from the board?
The only thing I could say is last Thursday, I went to Frankfort to the Commissioners Local School Board Members Advisory Council. We had our first meeting. It was interesting. So we'll meet again next April. But it was interesting. There were some good things that came out of it. So look forward to see where that goes.
I just want to say I want to thank Dr. Jason Glass, the Kentucky Education Commissioner, for coming to Madison County and listening to our superintendent and to our assistant superintendent and seeing everything that we have going on. I know he got to hear a lot about our school system and hear all the great things that's happening, especially touring our new Ignite Academy. So I appreciate him coming, and I thank them for allowing our school board members to come as well. So.
Anybody else?
No.